Alright, hey folks, this is Darren Solstrom coming at you with a how-to video. I was just out on the river tonight and I caught this 28-inch northern pike, and I'm gonna take this sucker out and I'm gonna fillet it up and show you guys how I fillet it. Now, I'm still learning how to take the Y bones out myself, so I am just gonna show you how to fillet it, and I'll probably do another how-to video on how to take out Y bones in the future. Now, the first thing, guys, is you want to do is get a good sharp knife. And maybe one that has a full handle too. This one, it broke off when I was filleting a really big fish. One of the many big fish that I've caught. So, and somehow I've misplaced my other better fillet knives. So we're just gonna use this tonight. But one of the tricks is to make sure you have your knife really nice and sharp. That's gonna make a big difference when you're filleting the fish. You've probably heard it said, if you have a sharp knife, you're less likely to cut yourself, because with your dull knife, you end up putting a lot more pressure than you need to, which could cause you to slip and cut yourself. Yeah, so I'm just gonna pull this fish out. Oh, man, ooh, the jaws. Ooh, it was like all frozen. So it's slimy, kind of nasty, but you better find a workstation that maybe your wife approves of. Just so happens that I'm using the washer and dryer here. I think my wife approves. She didn't tell me I couldn't, so I take that as her approval. So anyways, I'm trying to get my hand a little. So I'm going to take this half a knife, and hopefully this will be sufficient for what we need. But guys, we can do it kind of two ways. This fish is still flopping. The first way I'm going to show you, I'm going to do different on both sides, because some people like to go through the rib cage and some people like to go over it. Now I'm going to show you how to do both tonight. First, I'm going to start with going over and around the rib cage. So this is the fillet of meat right here. So I'm going to start by cutting just right behind the head, and you can kind of feel where the bones are, and you can kind of cut up a little bit because there's still some good meat up there. And once you cut into the back there enough, you're going to come along the backbone. And you don't want to cut through the backbone if you can help it. So you want to find the backbone with your knife, and then you're going to end up kind of sliding along the backbone, keeping pressure down so that you're getting the most amount of meat off of the fillet as possible. This fish is really slimy. And my knife is fairly sharp, so that's really helping us out. And then once we get to about in the middle of this fin down here, you're already past the rib cage, and it's all meat. So you can push through and come out on the other side, right by the rectum, right by the, oh, nasty. Just push through. And then, again, keep your hand clear of the knife and just hold on. Angle your knife down so that, again, you're cutting the most amount of meat off of the fish, keeping it on the fillet of meat. And you push down and out. And you should come right out through to the end. And then once we've done that, it looks like I did go through the backbone, just this one spot, see that? So I'm gonna come out of there. So once I've cut all the way through and down to the end, I'm gonna come back to the top, and I'm gonna start just making small incisions along the backbone and right up to the rib cage. And you'll feel when you start to hit the rib cage, Then you just need to start kind of angling your knife to go up and around it. And the rib cage has already ended way back here. So you want to make sure to keep as much meat on that fillet as possible. So here's the rib cage. Kind of cut up and around it. As you can see. And this is kind of tricky because you do have to sacrifice just a little bit of meat almost. But you'll feel it starting to give. Oh, and there's, so once you get kind of up enough, then you kind of start turning the corner, and then you can slice down and away. Oops. And if you cut down through it too soon, the rib cage starts to thin out. The bones are thinning as they get farther down. They're not as thick, so it's easier to cut through them like I just did right there. So ideally stay above that as long as you can. And there I see I left the rib cage. There's kind of some of the diaphragm there, that shiny white stuff is the diaphragm. So I kind of cut through that. There's no bones in here anymore. The bone is all still right here along the rib cage and this spinal cord. So pretty good. I left a little bit of meat there. But now I'm gonna finish that cut there. After, ooh, there's quite a bit of stuff in its stomach, but I'm not gonna cut into it until after. It's probably some minnows. But I'll finish cutting the meat off the fillets, and then I'll go ahead and we'll cut into that so you can see what this fish had recently to eat. So, and then once you have the fillet off to the side there, I just like to cut up along. There's not much meat below that point, so I'm just gonna kind of cut right up to this bottom fin here, and then kind of cut up and around it, and keep on going. And there you have a real nice fillet. There's a lot of meat on that fillet. And as you can see, I did pretty good. I got pretty close to this, to all the skeletal structure as close as I could in most places. A little bit left on there, but I am using half a knife, so give me a little break, guys. So I'm gonna flip this over, and now I'm gonna show you the other way people will do this. So I chose to go around the rib cage. And it's not beautifully clean, but all the bones are still on the fish. That's a very common method for doing panfish or bluegills, for doing panfish and crappies and the like, because they're smaller. So most time, I think my father prefers to go through, just cut right through the rib cage, which is what I'm going to show you next. So same thing as you started with before. Cut down so you get down to about that fin here now on this side, and then once you cut to the backbone, don't cut any further, and you can either cut the belly open first and then come back and cut that. Otherwise, if you try to do both at the same time, it's not very clean and it doesn't work out very good. I have found that out with experience. So this is actually, I don't do it this way as much as going through the, around the backbone, or around the rib cage. I don't know if it's just how I've preferred to do it. Man, this knife is less than ideal. But once you get down to the middle here, it's kind of like just from the other side, you poke through, and you can, again, kind of keep that downward pressure to keep it nice and tight to the skeletal structure so that you can get all the meat off possible. And this part, you just keep her the same. Push down and out. Cut through to the tail. So you're all the way through there. The bigger the fish is, the harder this is to do because the bones are a lot thicker. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to cut through it. It's not gonna be as pretty, I don't think, but we're gonna go ahead and show you how, because quite a few people choose to do it this way. So you just kind of gotta fight through and cut through the bones. And try not to cut through the backbone, because then you're gonna have trouble. Oh geez. Yeah, I definitely prefer doing it the other way, because look at all the meat I'm leaving. It's harder to cut that meat off when you're doing this, because you're cutting through all the bones. Oh man, this is... And then once you get to here, you gotta be careful not to cut around the back of that fin. So I'm gonna make sure to come on up and get around that fin. So there it is, guys. Not terrible, but look at all this meat that I left on this side. And now look at this side, and there's like, look how much cleaner I got that cut. Oh man, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and let's cut and see what's in the stomach of this thing. I'm just gonna cut that stomach right out. That's just an intestine there, but take a look at what we got here, guys. Oh my. Well, this doesn't look... What is this? Guys, it's a frog. I kid you not. Look at that. There's the back legs. Oh yeah. You can't even see the front legs right now. But it is well digested. But look at that. It's a big frog. I suppose this guy hadn't got to his hibernation yet. He got found and, well, he's been eaten. Kind of gross, but look at that. I can't believe that. There's the other leg, yeah. It's a ding-dang frog. So in my last video, we used a frog as bait, and we caught that one northern. So I guess I knew they bit on frogs, but it's kind of cool to see one in its stomach like that. I was not expecting that. I was expecting like a minnow or maybe a crawfish, crawdad. One pro tip is to maybe fillet the fish before it like thaws out and starts to slime everything, because it's really nasty. Put a fresh layer of paper down here so we aren't working on that. Oh, I should have mentioned the other thing with going through the rib cage is you've got to then cut the rib cage out later. So that's something that needs to be done. And this is, I remember why I don't like doing this. Man, you gotta come in here, and you gotta, this time you gotta cut into it, but then like keep your knife angled up, kind of. Because you don't want to gouge into your fillet too much, like I'm doing right there. There you go. So my recommendation would be to cut around the rib cage. I find that is a lot simpler. But once you have the rib cage, the ribs out, I just start at the end, and you just kind of press your fingernail into it, and you're gently pressing down, but you don't want to press down too hard because you'll end up cutting through the skin and the scales, and then it's not fun. So as you can see here, I'm doing pretty clean. There's a little bit over there, but pretty clean. So then as you keep going, you just kind of keep edging your fingers forward to keep your grip on it well. And you can kind of see how well you're doing if you just look at the skin, where you need to apply more pressure or less. Again, if you cut through the skin, it's not very fun because then you've got to kind of backtrack, and not great. So not a bad fillet, but I'm gonna take that into the sink and rinse that up really nice. But a lot of meat there, 28-inch Northern, that's a lot of meat. But I mean, this fillet is so much nicer. The rib cage is already all the way out, so here I can just go ahead and keep on rocking. Not bad, pretty nice. But look at that fillet. That's a lot of meat. Not a bad piece of meat right there, guy. Give it some shore lunch or some beer batter. Man, it makes a nice meal. Anyways, guys, that is how to fillet a northern pike. There's many ways to do it. There's more ways than I've done it. But I appreciate you guys coming out and supporting my channel, and hope you guys learned something, and I'll try to get some more content out to you guys right away. So go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'd love to hear any feedback you guys have, and to be helpful in any way that I can. So, alright, God bless you guys. Have a good day.